If you still have not received your tax refund, you're not alone. The IRS announced it is holding back millions of tax returns for manual processing, which could mean extended delays. Late last week, we reported on the Supreme Court rejecting a request from Spire, Missouri to halt a lower court ruling that vacated the permit to operate the STL pipeline in Missouri.
What's going on?
We went to the management office to find out. I've emailed everyone there is to email. I've called everyone, and I've not gotten any response back via email or phone call. We have been bringing you stories for months about these shortages, and in the next 30 minutes, we'll show you what to expect and what you can do to make it easier on yourself. Here's a look at how we got to this point. There are milestones, and then there are milestones, and this beauty just made it to 1 million miles. Hear from its only owner coming up. There is a new dog in the fight to keep complexes clean when pet owners don't pick up after their pets. How one company is using your dog's DNA to hold pet owners responsible.
You're going to have to talk to a manager. I'm going to have to escalate it. I'm so sick of that word escalation because that's all they keep telling me is escalation, escalate. I'm tired of hearing escalation. I want some results.
That's why Ferguson landlord Shantae Wadley called Contact 2. In July, she was approved for more than $8,500 in federal eviction aid through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. When summer turned to fall and the money hadn't dropped, she worried St. Louis County dropped the ball.
They're saying we can see the funds, we can see you were approved, but we don't see that the funds have been released. I'm like, well, can't somebody just press a button and release the funds? Just press a button and release the funds. They're approved. The money's there. The government sent you the money. The money's there.
Shantae says she really got frustrated after seeing St. Louis County Executive Sam Page say this in late September.
I'm happy to report that we have issued more than $18 million in rental assistance to nearly 3,000 households.
The money County Executive Page referenced in that clip was 68% of the $26.6 million in federal funding the county had received at that time. With more than $7 million to spare, Shantae wondered where her money was at months after it was approved.
They're passing the blame back and forth. Just help me so I can get out of this situation because it's depressing and I'm trying not to have a mental breakdown.
We brought Shantae's situation to St. Louis County's attention. A spokesperson told me it appeared the initial payment was sent, but a routing or account issue caused the holdup. The county thanked us for alerting them to the problem and quickly fixed it.
I can't help but to smile because I'm just so happy.
From months of frustration over escalation to jubilation.
The very next day when I got up for work, my funds were there. So I was happy about that. I was feeling like St. Louis County was playing me as if I was a peon and that my voice did not matter.
It was just something different for me, so I wanted change.
Change is a big part of Jamaica Johnson's life these days. It's been nearly 3 years since she was released from prison after a felony assault charge was dismissed. She hoped moving to the Avalon apartment homes in Chesterfield would solidify her new lease on life.
I'm not a saint, I'm not perfect, what I'm saying? But at the same time, I know the process of an application, what I'm saying? But this was a little different, so I was willing to take that challenge to see what's going on.
On July 23rd, Jamaica paid $175 for the application and background check. 9 business days later, she says management at the complex told her the third-party company it uses to screen applicants wanted her to get fingerprinted. She obliged and paid $40 to do so, despite no mention of fingerprinting in the more than 9,300-word Terms and Conditions of Rental Criteria page on Avalon's website.
Okay, I'm going to do what they asked me to do, because maybe it's something that I know, and they keep saying this third party need this.
On August 16th, now 16 business days since she first applied, Jamaica got this email she shared with us saying her application was approved with conditions. 3 minutes later, she got this email saying her application was denied.
I just want the truth. I just want the truth. That just what's going on.
We went to the management office to find out. I've emailed everyone there is to email. I've called everyone, and I've not gotten any response back via email or phone call.
Okay, I will right now send them a note that's, again, that you guys have stopped by, but we're not able to give you any comment today.
Minutes later, I was given Dave Seiler's phone number. He's the executive vice president of Trinity Property Consultants, a California company that manages Avalon. He confirmed Jamaica's application was denied. The basis of that denial would be?
Public records.
Housing providers using public records to screen applicants is nothing new. But fair housing advocates say the increased role technology plays in the selection process raises questions about discrimination.
They may use rental services that have their own algorithms.
Kalila Jackson is a senior staff attorney for the Metropolitan St. Louis Equal Opportunity Housing Council. She says programs created to level the playing field for applicants often don't.
Unfortunately, because humans create the programs and create the algorithms that are making these assessments, and just the way that the world has operated, there is a growing concern about the possibility for discrimination even in those algorithms.
The Avalon Apartment Homes uses the company Entrata and its Resident Verify software to screen applicants. An Entrata representative tells me each property decides which applicants are accepted and denied based off screening parameters it chooses within Entrata's software. The representative says Entrata does not fingerprint every applicant it screens. Each property decides which applicants get fingerprinted based off a criteria the property creates. I questioned the executive vice president for the company that manages Avalon about this process. You're aware that some residents are being asked to get fingerprinted, where other residents are not being asked to get fingerprinted. You're aware of that?
I'm not aware of that. That's outside of my privy, because that would be a resolution that would be happening at the credit check company.
Finger pointing over fingerprinting, fair housing advocate Kalila Jackson calls concerning.
When it's applied selectively, then you start to have concerns about who is this for and who's being subjected to this.
In this case, it's Jamaica Johnson, out more than $200 and still looking for a new place to live.
They gave me a run for my money, literally a run for my money.
Jamaica will soon have some of that money back in her pocket. A manager for the apartment complex tells me it's refunding the money she paid for the application. We should note federal housing law prohibits discrimination because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Entities or individuals who violate fair housing laws can face severe civil penalties. If you believe you're a victim of housing discrimination, we'd like to hear from you. Search for this report on fox2now.com to tell us your story. Tonight, we're going to show you how to fight back and potentially profit off those unwanted calls and texts. They are the phone calls and text messages we love to hate.
Phone rings and you're like, oh man, who is it? Look, it's unknown. Oh, great.
Annoying robocalls once led Armando Fierro to block hundreds of phone numbers.
Now, knowing what I know, I unblock all of those numbers and I answer the phone confidently.
A lot of times people think those are scam calls, but oftentimes there's legitimate businesses behind it.
Chris Roberts is a consumer attorney in St. Louis. He says the Telephone Consumer Protection Act restricts telemarketers in three main ways. Among them, penalties for violating federal and state do not call lists.
If you're registered on both of those, you can potentially get a penalty under the TCPA, which is the federal law, and then the Missouri law, which restricts these types of calls as well.
Roberts says under federal law, if you get more than one robocall from the same company in a 12-month period, you could take action against that company for $500 or more per call. Under Missouri law, the same robocall scenario could entitle you to up to $5,000. Armando Fierro's used the law to his advantage.
Because of NDAs, I can't talk about the specific amounts, but I can say it's several $1,000s.
Pinpointing the company behind the robocall will take preparation and investigation.
So that's why it's really important that you act interested, you build that rapport, you be very nice to get information about what's the name of your company, what's the website, where are you located, and then you can use that information to figure out, yes, it's ABC company out of this state, and then pursue a case.
The TCPA also restricts telemarketers from using pre-recorded voice calls.
Sometimes there will be a call and you hear a live person on the call, but before that, you hear something like, press 1 to speak with a live representative.
If you get a live person on the phone, Robert says to follow the same playbook he discussed. If the caller leaves a voicemail, save it. It may include information about the business you need to take action.
We will hear argument first this morning in case 19-511, Facebook versus Dogood.
The Supreme Court recently issued an opinion on a provision in the TCPA that restricts telemarketers from placing auto-dialed calls and texts without consumers' permission. Roberts says the court's decision makes it more difficult for consumers to prove the telemarketer used the technology to call them.
I am not going to be surprised if consumers start receiving even more robocalls than we're receiving right now, and unsolicited text messages as well.
That's why knowing your rights under the TCPA has never been more important.
You have a right as a consumer to have your phone and be able to answer it happily with no problem. It's these robocallers that making answering a phone such a problem nowadays.
We should note this law does not apply to political calls or nonprofits, and you should still be wary of sharing any personal information until you've determined the call is not a scam. While you don't need an attorney to take action against companies in violation of the TCPA, legal help can be useful.